All right. What do you, making sure that we're live on our channel? I'm just going to double check it and make sure that we're live.
I don't see it, Deb.
What is happening? What is happening? What is happening? Hold on, Jordan. Just one. Oh, what
That's
is
fine. It's just me and a turtle. Just a man and his turtle. I saw a turtle. Turtle saw man.
No, it's there. It's there. It's there.
It's there? Okay, we're good. Oh, shoo. It's my old. Okay, there we go.
You're good, Deb.
Okay, everyone. I think we finally got everything figured out and ready to go. Thanks for being with us during these little technical difficulties we had here. But we have
Sure.
a great presenter for you. Jordan Gray is from the Turtle Survival Alliance. He is a communication and outreach coordinator. He has been passionate about turtles since he was 4 years old, and you're going to hear his passion. There's nothing cooler. Every adult will tell you that there's nothing cooler than turning your passion into a full-time job, and that's what Jordan has done. So we're so glad you're here. You can use the chat box and the Q&A to ask questions when you want, but without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our great friend, Jordan Gray.
All right. Hey, good morning. Can everybody hear me fine? Feel free to type into the chat box that the audio and the video is going well. That gives me some peace of mind. Otherwise, I could just be talking to myself for an hour, which, yes, is oftentimes the case. But for now, I would love to be talking to you all about turtles and tortoises and transforming a passion for turtles into effective conservation action. So I did bring a wonderful little friend of mine to share. I'll get her up close to the camera. This is a northern diamondback terrapin. It is the only turtle in the world that exclusively lives in brackish water. So what is brackish water? That is the confluence of the nice briny, salty water of the ocean with the rivers and streams that flow into it. So it's right along the coastline, and there's a mix of estuaries, lagoons, tidal creeks, mangrove swamps, all sorts of habitats that make up that brackish water habitat, depending where you are. And Donna wants you to know that she can hear you. Hey, thanks, Donna. I do appreciate it, because again, I could have been talking to myself. So this is a beautiful female diamondback terrapin. I just got a comment that it kind of looks like cinnamon rolls. And yes, this phenotype or expressed characteristics does look like a cinnamon roll. It has this beautiful concentric pattern, we call it. This species of turtle is what I like to call the feral cat of the turtle world, because they have so many different basically observed patterns that, in one clutch of eggs or in one population, it's kind of like Forrest Gump and a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. So just wanted to introduce her to you. I have been passionate about this species of turtle ever since I was a kid. And now today at 37, yes, I don't mind to say my age. Tomorrow I'll be 29, but just letting you all know I am 37. But even so, at 37, years and years later, I am still extremely passionate about this species of turtle. So Nessie, I'm going to put you back because I need to teach everybody about turtles. All right, so there Nessie goes. So today I am going to talk to you about the Turtle Survival Alliance and transforming passion for turtles into effective conservation action. All right, so I know what you're all thinking. What on earth is the Turtle Survival Alliance? When I go and do outreach, I oftentimes ask, who knows what the Turtle Survival Alliance is? And for most people, they don't know. I oftentimes will get a handful of arms still folded in their laps. But that's okay, because we want to be able to continue to educate people that our organization is out there, and we are constantly 365 days a year and around the clock working to preserve the world's most endangered species of turtles and tortoises. So that's going to move me on to my next slide, is who is the TSA? So yeah, we're not that TSA at the airport who's going to make you take your shoes off and who's going to make you get upset because you had to throw your bottle of contact solution away because it was too big. No, instead, we're going to be happy to meet you and interact with you and share our love of turtles. So our TSA actually was founded about 2 months before the Transportation Security Administration back in 2001. And we formed as a task force of the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, IUCN. And this was because of this catalyst going on in turtledom, and we called it the Asian turtle crisis. Basically, turtles from all over Southeast Asia, as well as around the world, were figuratively being vacuumed up for the markets there, whether that be traditional medicine, food, or for the pet markets. And that market then definitely exploded all across the world. And so something had to be done about it, or else we were going to lose one of the longest lived species on Earth, or group of animals on Earth, the turtles, a group that has been around for over 200 million years due to human activity and humans not preserving what they have. So we decided to form a mission statement, and that is that we are committed to zero turtle extinctions in the 21st century. I know that everybody who works for our organization is deeply committed to that. There have been species of turtles and tortoises that have gone extinct in modern times, and we don't ever want to see that happen to another species. So that is our vision, that is our mission. Okay, so we are made up of a diverse assemblage of organizations, institutions, and individuals with a passion for saving turtles. And that is so important. It all comes down to the people. I mean, some of these programs around the world are based around the passion of one person, and that one person inspiring others. And then that inspiration grows and creates this network of its beauty. Okay, it's a beautiful network of conservation action. So together with our partners, the Turtle Survival Alliance is actually the largest tortoise and freshwater turtle conservation organization on Earth. We have comprehensive programs all over the world. It's just it's an amazing thing to watch operate. And these strategic partnerships are the core of our strength, plus a bunch of really extraordinary people. And I'm going to talk about that as I go through our slideshow. So my question is, what would make these people dedicate their entire lives to turtle conservation? I know that's what I've dedicated my life to, and many of my friends have dedicated their life to. So why did we dedicate our lives to this mission? Well, at the TSA, we believe that everybody has a turtle story. Okay, we may not all have started that turtle story from the same experience, but we think that everybody has some sort of a turtle story. You know, when I talk to people, a lot of times people say, oh, well, I found this turtle crossing the road and I helped it across the street, like that picture you see of the box turtle. Or when I was young in the 1950s and 60s, these little green turtles that now we know of as red-eared sliders or yellow belly sliders, we bought them and we put them in a little plastic habitat with a palm tree and fed them ant eggs. I don't recommend doing that, by the way, but either way, that was the beginning of their turtle story. Maybe people went to an aquarium or a zoological institution and were able to view turtles, or they were able to see turtles in the wild, whether that be at a park, basking alongside a ditch, or maybe you've actually traveled and seen turtles in far off places like the Galapagos Islands. Either way, we think that everybody has a turtle story. And we believe that that interest has to start with a catalytic moment. So that catalytic moment might have been helping a turtle across the street. That catalytic moment may have been bringing home a turtle from a pet store for the first time, and then you fell in love with them. Well, at the TSA, we love to inspire. And we want to be able to create catalytic moments that inspire that next generation of turtle conservationists. So whether it be in the United States on the left-hand side, inspiring these children in South Carolina, or whether it be in India, inspiring this group of school children in Lucknow, India, no matter where it is across the world, we want to help provide that catalytic moment for a life of turtle love, passion, and action. All right. So again, saying that, it all starts with a catalytic moment and becomes a passion. Everybody you see in these pictures had that passion from a young age, and it blossomed into a long-term strategy for conserving and preserving turtles around the world. Everybody you see in this picture either works for or has worked with the Turtle Survival Alliance, and you can see from all of their faces, whether it's a smile or whether it's a look of love and intrigue, there is that human bond that just links you to these prehistoric animals that continue to live on Earth. All right, so that being said, question is, what is conservation? So if you were to ask 10 different people what conservation is, I would bet you would get 10 different answers. According to Merriam and Webster, you know, two close friends of mine who created a dictionary, the first definition would be the prevention of a wasteful use of resource. The second would be a careful preservation and protection of something. Okay, so those are dictionary definitions. But again, everybody might have their own thought of what conservation is. On the right-hand side, maybe it's at your favorite zoo, breeding a critically endangered species of tiger so that there are more of that species of tiger. Or maybe it is on the left, bringing the California condor back from the brink of extinction, which was a real program that was in the news heavily during the late 80s and early 1990s, whereas in this species of birds, populations plummeted due to being poisoned by lead in their food sources, and they are scavengers. Major steps were taken based on passionate individuals, and now this species once again flies amongst the valleys and ravines of the American Southwest. Well, no matter what you think conservation is, there are different facets for you to get involved. And what I always say is that if you have a talent, if you have an ability, a skill, there is a place for you in conservation. Make no mistake. I mean, if you're good at art, there's a place for you in conservation. If you're good at plumbing, there's a place for you in conservation. If you're good with acting and talking to people, there's definitely a place for you in conservation. Or for some of you, maybe you like solitude and you want to be out in the woods. Well, guess what? There's a place for you in conservation. So what does the TSA provide? Well, for that common goal of conservation, we provide education and outreach, research and monitoring, assurance colonies, lobbying, habitat protection, Head Start and reintroduction, captive breeding, and rescue and rehabilitation. And all of that works together because it has to be a patchwork quilt going towards this common goal of conservation. Uh, one person cannot do everything. One group of people cannot do everything. It takes a community, a passionate community, of course, to make conservation work. And it's always an uphill battle. But the way you get through that uphill battle is through that passion that burns deep within you to save these incredible animals. All right, so then people always ask me, well, isn't conservation hard? How do you work in this realm where something is always becoming endangered or habitats are being destroyed? And I just put it simply. Again, going back to not one person can do it all. So just do what you can, where you can, when you can, while you're here, because the world depends on it. So that means whether it's one day a month, every day, one day a year, whatever works for you to be able to put your skills towards conservation, that's what it takes, and that's what you can do. All right, now speaking of the world, my next question is, well, not really a question, but turtle stats. I want to talk to you about all the amazing turtles around the world. You know, when I ask people what types of turtles they can name, I normally get the same responses or some variation of. I get sea turtles, I get tortoises, I get box turtles, snapping turtles, and red-eared sliders. And that for a lot of people are your basic, yeah, we'll call them groups or species of turtles. But the truth of the matter is, right now, there are actually 350 living species of turtles. And that equates to 469 living taxa. So by the way, I don't expect you to know what taxa means, but I'll tell you. So taxa would be the species and the subspecies that make up a group. So for instance, the red-eared slider comes from a genus called Trachemes. Well, Trachemes has numerous species and subspecies, and we call that collection taxa. Now, I see I have a question I'm going to get to in just a second. All I want to say is this is really cool. So I gave this presentation back in February for the National Biodiversity Teach-In, and there's a difference in it. That number of living species was 349 back in February. But a new scientific paper came out just last week that has formally described a new species of turtle. Now, people believed it was there all along, but a type of turtle that lives in South America called the mata mata. By the way, go look it up. One of the most incredible turtle species on Earth. The mata mata has now been split into two distinct species. So we have now increased that number by one just since February based on scientists being able to analyze DNA. Now, I don't know if you all know what DNA is, but of course it is the strands that make up who we are. It is deoxyribonucleic acid, and it is all the building blocks that make you who you are. All right, so the question is, Donna would like to know what federal or state group would they need to contact to make their involvement connection. So what I would recommend is reaching out to your state herpetologist. So this herpetologist is employed by the state government, and they deal with all of the reptiles and amphibians in the state, as not only being able to do species inventory and surveys, but also the regulations that are involved. So I would recommend contacting them, or if you'd like to, you can contact me and I can help guide you to the right person or directly put you in contact with them. All right, so excellent question. So one thing I want to bring up is, there's 469 living types of turtles and tortoises on Earth, but only 7 of those are marine or sea turtles. Okay, they get a lot of attention, and as well they should. They're big, they're beautiful, they're what we call megafauna. But that also means that there are 462 types of turtles and tortoises that maybe don't get as much attention as sea turtles, but they need the conservation action just as much, if not more, than sea turtles. So, going on from this, I want to ask you all a question. Can you guess what the most turtle-rich country in the world is? And no, I don't mean a country who sells turtles. I mean, what country on Earth do you think has the most species and subspecies of turtle living on it? So I'm going to give you all just a minute to think about this question, and hopefully I'll have some answers come in, and then I'm going to tell you the answer. This is an appropriate time for me to take a delicious drink from my Sprite Zero. It's Sprite, but without the calories. All right, I'm getting a lot of excellent guesses. United States is a guess. Asia, the continent of Asia is another guess. Australia, a continent and a country. The United States, a guess again. Thailand, excellent guess. And then another guess of the United States. Okay, I'll take a couple more guesses if they come in, because I really want you all to think about this one. And while we're at it, I'll do a little bit of Jeopardy theme music. All right, in that time, see, that's all it took was some Jeopardy theme music. We've gotten in Brazil, excellent guess. Ecuador, excellent guess. And then Costa Rica, another wonderful guess. All right, so everybody, here is your answer without further turtle ado. It is the United States of America. A number of you got that right. The United States of America is by far the most turtle-rich country on Earth, with 89 types of turtles and tortoises. That is absolutely incredible. The second place country in terms of turtle richness is Mexico, with 65 species and subspecies. And then we move over across the seas to India, which has 42 species and subspecies. And there is a big reason for this. If you look at that map, you will see the deeper reds show where the highest densities of species diversity is. And that is because in those regions, you have a number of types of ecoregions that turtles have evolved in. For all of you watching from the United States of America, Mexico and India have great pride. You all are the top 3 countries with the greatest turtle richness. But the fact of the matter is, no matter where you live, turtles are in trouble. In fact, over 50% of turtles are now threatened with extinction. This is the greatest extinction threat of any order of vertebrates. So what does that mean? It means the time is now to take that passion that you have for saving these animals and apply it to something beneficial that will save them. All right, so why has this happened? Well, humans are the primary culprit. And whether that be from the crisis of collecting millions of turtles for use as food or traditional medicine or as pets, that has really took off in Southeast Asia, but does happen across the world. That is a very, very large factor. Other major factors would be things like subsidized predators. Okay, what's a subsidized predator? So a subsidized predator is something that their population has been helped or increased by human expansion into the landscape. So think of a raccoon. They come around, they steal your trash at night, they eat your dog's food in the backyard. That's a subsidized predator because as our suburban environments grow, more raccoons are able to proliferate because of us basically handing out food. Now, we don't exactly mean to, but that's just the case. Now, there are many other types of subsidized predators out there, but raccoon is a great example. Another one would, of course, be exactly tied to that, development. You know, we are rapidly changing the landscape where turtles and tortoises live. And so they are losing their homes at a rapid pace. Kind of linked to that would be road mortality. The major way that we as humans move around are by roads. And those roads can serve as very dangerous obstacles for turtles to cross, whether it be to nest or to move from one habitat to another. So road mortality is a big one. Deforestation, again, that kind of goes with development, but even just the practice of logging to produce wood for paper, for toilet paper, for paper bags, whatever you name, deforestation is a major, major problem. And then one more I'll bring up is incidental bycatch. That means humans fishing or trapping for other animals that we typically eat, things like, swordfish, tuna, shrimp, crabs, and the turtles who live in those environments, unfortunately becoming entangled in the nets and sadly, in many cases, drowning. Okay, so I have a question. What turtle is illegally traded the most? Whew, that's a tough question. That I can't really put a species there because the market for turtles fluctuates. It's very, very dynamic. It changes on a yearly basis or every couple years. We know that for the last few years, box turtles from the United States and Mexico have been heavily traded at the illegal level. They are a species that are protected at the state level in most, but not all states. They are protected at the federal level in Mexico, and they are also protected by CITES, which is the Convention on the International Trade in Endangered Species of Flora and Fauna. So then the next question is, why does it fluctuate so much? It's simple, supply and demand. Poaching turtles and illegally trading them is a market just like any other. So the supply of the turtles and the demand are the greatest influencers in that market. And so that can change very much. There are also fads that, a turtle may become a fad, no joking. So if you look at it, for many places, a turtle or a tortoise is an investment. And so one tries to get the most money for that investment. It's a sad state of affairs, and it's something that countries across the world and organizations like us at the TSA are working on to try to decrease or stop altogether that type of visualizing a species of turtle, especially an endangered one, as a fad in which somebody can profit off of. All right, but going on from there, the TSA is here to help. Oh, we have another question. Can a turtle survive a car strike if brought to rehab? So the answer there is yes and no. It depends on the severity of the injury. I personally have done a lot of work with road crossings of turtles, especially that species I showed you. Here, wait. I'll show you again. The beautiful diamondback terrapin. This species is well known to cross coastal roads all through their range, and it is a turtle that commonly gets hit by cars during the summer months. We have been able to repair the shells and rehabilitate many, many turtles, release them back to the wild. And then sadly, there's also been a lot of turtles that did lose their lives to those automobile strikes. And going on from that question is the next question. Can turtles and tortoises fix their own shell if it's cracked, like in the picture in the bottom left corner? Excellent question. So turtles have probably the most amazing regenerative properties or self-healing properties of any animal I know of on Earth. We have found turtles that, no kidding, have been all but chopped up by agricultural equipment. We have seen them where they have been hit by cars, and their shells have been basically healed, not always back together exactly, but healed enough for that turtle to go on living for many, many years after. I am always just amazed when I see a turtle that's hit by a car or a boat propeller or agricultural equipment or an off-road vehicle, that obviously that injury happened years ago, and here it is, continuing to live without any veterinary care or anyone to take care of it. So again, they're incredible animals and they are worth saving. So again, speaking of worth saving, the TSA is here to help. We actually make a positive impact for 20 of the top 25 most endangered tortoises and freshwater turtles across the earth, which also equates to 39 of the top 50. So we have a very, very large footprint for turtle conservation, especially with the world's most endangered species. In continuing that, we work or made a positive impact for 100% of the Asian species. And remember, that's where that whole Asian turtle crisis was really born from. But we make an impact for 100% of the Asian species listed in the top 50 most endangered tortoises and freshwater turtles. So that's something we're really proud of and something that we work towards every day. All right, here's just an infographic I want to show you. I'm just going to leave it up here for a minute, but this will be preserved on YouTube in case you'd like to go back and take a look at this infographic later. But it just shows you that that footprint for where we make that positive impact for 20 of the world's top 25 most endangered tortoises and freshwater turtles. And as you can see, these are beautiful animals. They're charismatic. They live all over the world, and they are worth saving. All right. So speaking again of all over the world, let's take you there. Now, I'm going to have to kind of move through this somewhat briskly, just for the interest of time. But the reason I want to take you around the world is that, again, the Turtle Survival Alliance dedicates our lives to saving turtles around the world. Now, I can't take you to each and every program that we have, or else we would be here all night long. Would I love to? Yes. But I'm going to take you to a few and just give you some highlights from those programs. So everybody, let down your tray tables, put on some nice slippers, get a neck cushion, because we are going to jump aboard TSA Air and take you first to our closest range country program from our headquarters in Charleston, South Carolina, and that would be our program in Belize. Now, Belize is a country in Central America, and most people think about this country for scuba diving and for jaguars. Jaguars being that beautifully big spotted cat, and scuba diving being, well, diving underwater and looking at coral and fish and eels and all sorts of things. But at the TSA, this country means one thing, and that is this very, very special turtle. And this is the Hicatee, known as the Central American River turtle, Dermatomys mawii. This turtle comes from a very, very ancient lineage of turtles. It is the only remaining representative of that lineage. So again, talk about how special that is to just have one member left on Earth that has survived for millions of years. As you can see, it's a beautiful turtle. It lives in lakes and flooded forests and oxbows of Belize, deep within the forests there. It's also known from Mexico and Guatemala, but this is a critically endangered species. And our friends at the Belize Foundation for Research and Environmental Education have been very strong partners with us in trying to bring this turtle back from the brink of extinction. So there we have the Hicatee Research and Conservation Center, where we're able to, as it says, do research. We're able to breed this species in captivity, hatch new turtles, and grow those turtles to a larger size for hopeful reintroduction into the wild. There's two things I want to tell you about with this turtle because it is incredible. This turtle is probably the closest to a fish you're ever going to get regarding a turtle. And the reason I say that is they spend almost all of their time underwater. Very rarely, if ever, do they come out of water unless it's for a female to nest. So this species has evolved for that aquatic existence. Two primary things I want to tell you about with that evolution. One, they can stay underwater for almost an unlimited amount of time. And that is because they have developed this breathing system. So in water, you have what's called dissolved oxygen, okay? Very small oxygen molecules within the water. So what the Hicatee does is it draws water into its mouth, and then that dissolved oxygen passes across a highly vascularized, or basically think of it as lots of microscopic blood vessels, papillae. And those papillae are little branching structures. So just think of like little branches on a tree that basically grab that dissolved oxygen in the water, pass it into the bloodstream, and go into this turtle's respiratory system. And then what do? They pump the water back out of their nose. So it's like in like this, out like this, and they can just stay underwater for nearly an unlimited amount of time. The second thing about that is their eggs. So when they lay eggs, they lay them right near the water line. But when they lay them, it is near the monsoon season or the rainy season. And so what happens is the rivers will rise extensively, flooding the forest floor. Well, wait a minute, there's a problem. What about those eggs that were buried by the river? Won't they drown? So this species of turtles' eggs are able to go under an amazing evolutionary process called diapause. And that is where the growing embryo inside will actually arrest its development or stop its development so that it will not be affected by that water and that reduction in oxygen around the egg. So then what happens when the water levels recede? The embryo then continues its development. So that's a really amazing evolutionary advantage and process that takes place with this species. Okay, really quick question here. How hard is a turtle shell? Well, that really depends on the species and the age of a turtle. So we have soft-shelled turtles, and those soft-shelled turtles have a hard, bony carapace or top shell, and plastron, the bottom shell, that is overlaid by a thick layer of skin. We also, that can be observed in the leatherback sea turtle as well. But then most types of turtles and tortoises on Earth have a rather hard shell that is made of bone and then overlaid by a keratin layer. By the way, keratin is what makes up your fingernails, your skin, and your hair. And those are called scutes, or you can call them plates, and they overlay and protect that hard bony structure. Excellent question. All right, now I want to move on from Belize all the way across the Atlantic Ocean to this country many of you have probably heard of called Madagascar. And Madagascar is in the Indian Ocean. It's directly across from the country of Mozambique. And this country has a few species of tortoises that are really, really beautiful, but really, really endangered. So if you look at these pictures across, in the upper right-hand corner, you have the radiated tortoise. And it's called the radiated tortoise because it has these beautiful yellow radiating lines on its shell, okay? It's not that it was actually exposed to radiation, and so now it's gonna be a mutant tortoise. Then down in the left-hand corner, we have the world's most endangered tortoise that lives on Madagascar, and that is called the plowshare tortoise. But what I really want to point out is that tortoise poaching in this country has been rampant for decades. What we have been witnessing is what I call the American bison story of Madagascar. So what do I mean there? Okay, so back in the early 1800s, the American bison or buffalo population across our continent was estimated at about 80 million. Well, by the early 1900s, hunters had actually killed off most of that population, such as that only just over 1,000 of them were left. Can you imagine that? 80 million just down to over 1,000. Sadly, we're seeing that same type of action happening in Madagascar, where these tortoises, the spider tortoises, the radiated tortoises, and plowshare tortoises, all collectively numbering in the probably tens of millions, are now seeing huge drops in their populations. The plowshare tortoise is considered functionally extinct in their habitat. The spider tortoises are critically endangered. The radiated tortoise is critically endangered. But the TSA has 6 centers across the country in which we provide care to animals that were seized from illegal trade. We build relationships with communities to preserve the tortoises. We have a law enforcement arm that is able to track down tortoise poachers and then arrest them with the help of local authorities. And so we just have this incredible comprehensive program. It's one of our largest programs. And I have been there, I've witnessed it. It's an amazing thing. And it's something that I hope you all get involved with the TSA, because there's nothing more important than seeing something happening now that you saw in the past, like with the American buffalo or bison, and say, we need to not let that ever happen again. So we're doing everything we can, and we hope you join us. All right, so moving on from Madagascar, I want to jump up to India. So India is our largest TSA program. It covers much of that country or that subcontinent. And we work with a lot of species there. Now, remember, India is the third most turtle-rich country in the world. But the turtle I want to talk about and tell you about the program for is this beautiful turtle. And this is the Indian red-crowned roof turtle. Now, it did used to live in some of the countries bordering India, but now its population has basically been shrunken to the Chambal River in India, and maybe in some of the tributaries of the Chambal. Either way, it's an incredibly beautiful animal. It's worth saving, and that is what the TSA and our partners in India are doing. We are helping bring this turtle back from the brink of extinction. How do we do that? Well, for many of you who are familiar with sea turtle programs, patrollers go out during the morning, they look for sea turtle tracks, they find the nest, and then they will put a cage or at least some sort of protection device warning people not to go near the eggs. Well, we do the same thing in India, but our volunteers and our staff in India, well, they're a little more hardcore. So our volunteers and staff will go out in the wee hours of the morning along the Chambal's sandbars and sandy river banks looking for the tracks of this turtle. And then when they find the nest, which, by the way, it's not always easy to do, they will dig up the eggs and then translocate or move the eggs to a hatchery. This year, luckily, before the Indian government was able to impose its regulations regarding the COVID-19 pandemic, our volunteers and staff were able to translocate over 300 nests of the red-crowned and three-striped roof turtle to this protected hatchery. And so what happens? Our staff and volunteers in India will camp alongside this hatchery for the duration of their incubation. That's just incredible. Camping out through monsoons, through temperatures in the 120s up to 130 degrees Fahrenheit every day to protect and ensure that these hatchling turtles not only hatch, but also go back into the river to preserve their species. So it's an incredible program and one that I really wanted you to know about. All right, from here, we're going to jump over to a country called Myanmar or Burma. And here in Myanmar, again, we have programs for a lot of different turtle and tortoise species, but the one I want to highlight is one of the greatest conservation success stories of not just turtles and tortoises, but any type of animal. And that is for this beautiful animal, the Burmese star tortoise. So the Burmese star tortoise was at the brink of extinction by the early 2000s. They were considered functionally extinct in the wild, meaning that there was, a few left across the landscape, but not enough to be ecologically important or to really breed with one another. So what did the TSA and our partners, Wildlife Conservation Society and the Myanmar Forest Department do? Well, we were able to collect around 175 of these tortoises that were confiscated from illegal trade, as well as a few from the wild, and put them together into breeding assurance colonies. Well, that program now has been so successful that since then, we have reproduced over 16,000 Burmese star tortoises. So this program has not only reproduced them to the point that they are not on the brink of extinction anymore, but they've also now, or should I say, we've also now collectively reintroduced them to the wild. And the best thing about it is this reintroduction to the wild has been able to display turtles or tortoises now breeding in the wild and living in the habitat in the wild once again. All right, so the next question is there a way to tell how old turtles are? That's a really good question. So for some species, you can kind of guess how old they are. This is especially the case when a turtle is young. However, when a turtle is an adult, there's really no way to definitively tell how old a turtle or tortoise is without knowing when that turtle or tortoise hatched from an egg. Oh, by the way, I keep saying turtle and tortoise, but something I do want to let you all know is that turtles, tortoises, terrapins, and sea turtles are actually all turtles. They're all what we call chelonians. And so if you were to call a tortoise a turtle, you are correct. If you were to call a terrapin a turtle, you are also correct. So again, it is okay to call all of those things turtles because they are all in this group called chelonians, the turtles. The basic answer to that question is, well, yes and no. Sometimes you can tell or even kind of guesstimate the age of a turtle or tortoise, other times not. A turtle who is 20 years old may very well look the same as a turtle who is 40 years old. And that turtle who is 40 years old may very well look about the same as a turtle who's 80 years old. So the basic thing there is, no, you really can't, but sometimes you really can. Conundrum, isn't it? Okay, let's see. What resource could an amateur use to identify a turtle we find? Okay, that's a really good question. How to identify a turtle you find. All right, right now, of course, you could go to different types of turtle books and look it up. However, there's a really, really great online resource. For those of you who use Facebook, there are two major groups in which you can pose that question to. One is called Wild Turtles Discussion, and the other one, Wild Turtles Identification and Discussion, and the other one is called Turtles ID. And so those two Facebook groups, check them out. People respond really, really quickly. I know the people who are moderating those groups, so you will get very accurate answers there. So again, Turtles ID and Wild Turtles Identification and Discussion are two really good ways in which you can find out about what a turtle species is you find. Now, if you don't use things like Facebook, you can always use different types of Google searches, or of course, what I did growing up before there was such a thing was reading turtle books. My favorites of them being The Handbook of Turtles by Archie Carr, Amphibians and Reptiles by Roger Conant, a Peterson Field Guide, and then also Turtles of the World by Carl Ernst. Those are some of my very, very favorite books. All right, so moving on from Myanmar, I want to take you to Vietnam and China. So here in Vietnam and China, we are working with the most endangered freshwater turtle on Earth. And this is called the Yangtze giant softshell turtle, also known as the swin-hose softshell turtle. We know them in the scientific world as Raphidius swin-hoi. I see I have another question coming in, and I'll get to that in just a second. So the thing is with this species of turtle, all right, let me pose it to you like this. If there's 1,000 turtles left of a species, typically that is a critically endangered species. If there are 100 left, that species is on the brink of extinction. Normally by that point, we consider them functionally extinct in the landscape. If there's only 10 left, oftentimes that species is on the very, very edge of extinction. And in many cases, those last animals have been brought into captivity to try to preserve. So this species of turtle that I'm about to show you has a very, very low number left, and that would be 3. So yes, this species of turtle, it's a gargantuan softshell turtle, has only 3 left that we know of. One of them lives in the Suzhou Zoo in China. That is a old male. He's around 100 or so years old. And then there are also 2 turtles who live in large lakes in Vietnam, in northern Vietnam. So we have Duan Can Lake and we have Dong Mo Lake. Both of those are just outside the city of Hanoi, Vietnam. And what I really want to point out is that this program has been going on for years to try to save this turtle. We even went to such great lengths as trying to do in vitro or human injection of male sperm of a turtle into the female's oviducts, where they will then fertilize eggs. Unfortunately, this, after many attempts, did not work. By the way, it had never been done before. So if it worked, it would be groundbreaking, basically like walking on the moon. Sadly, last year, the only known female of this species did die. And so right now, there's a collective effort being put forth to find another female. Now, we don't know the sexes of the 2 animals that are in captivity, but our good friends at Asian Turtle Program and the Wildlife Conservation Society and the Vietnamese government are working to try to capture those animals in those immense lakes, like you see in the picture, and be able to sex them and put radio transmitters on them so we know where these animals are at all times. Now, I don't have a new update as to how that expedition is going, but I'll love to give you an update sometime in the near future. All right, I have another question I want to get to. Do you have programs that people could volunteer for? How can we support your organization? All right, great question. And I'm actually going to get to that right at the end of my slideshow, because we love volunteers. We love for people to get involved and donate. So why don't we move along back to the United States as I move towards that question, because this is where the TSA is based, even though we have those programs around the world. We are headquartered in the United States in Charleston, South Carolina, but we have this program that you watching in the United States, or if you'd like to travel from abroad, can get involved with. All right, and that would be the North American Freshwater Turtle Research Group. This is a one-of-a-kind opportunity. It's near and dear to my heart, being one of the leaders of this program, but it is citizen science at its best. Now, this program is through the Turtle Survival Alliance. It is led by professional scientists, but we welcome volunteers of all age levels and ability levels to help us. We've been doing this research for 20 years now. Most of it takes place in Florida and in Texas, but one can also get involved in Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Ontario, and New Jersey as well. But either way, you can see from these pictures that it is just people who have a passion for turtles getting involved and getting providing data for long-term population research. And this population research is so important for us to be able to make long-term decisions regarding protection statuses for turtles. All right, now finally, we get to our Turtle Survival Center. This is our flagship center in the United States, one of the most amazing facilities for tortoises and freshwater turtles in the world. It is located just outside Charleston, South Carolina, in a subtropical climate. And here we have breeding assurance colonies for 24 of the world's most endangered tortoises and freshwater turtles. Some of these don't even exist in the wild anymore. They're considered either extinct in the wild or functionally extinct. Animals like the Rhode Island snake-necked turtle, Chelodina mccordi, or the McCord's box turtle, Cuora mccordi. So here at this facility, which is actually hidden in the woods, you're not going to find it by looking up the address, and we need to keep it that way because we have such a priceless collection of animals, trying to preserve them on Earth. But either way, we have a veterinary office. We have all sorts of veterinary equipment to go with it. We have a hatchling room for them to grow, which you can see in the top middle picture. And we are producing lots of hatchlings of these endangered and critically endangered turtles every year. Now, is it open to the public? No, but we do schedule private tours, especially for those who want to become more involved and invested with the TSA, or for school groups, and whether that be homeschooling or private or public school groups. All right, great question here. What is the difference between a turtle and a tortoise? Okay, so like I was saying, we normally say turtles, tortoises, terrapins, and sea turtles. All of those, however, are turtles, okay? But tortoises evolved on a clade all of their own, and those are terrestrial based adaptations that are observed among this group. So tortoises are terrestrial. They have adapted and evolved for a terrestrial life. However, they will go into water, typically shallow water on occasion, to cool down, or sometimes for them to move from one area to another, they must be able to cross a river or a creek. The terrapin, as you've heard me say, typically is reserved for turtles who live in brackish water environments, whether that be for part of their life or for their entire life. So some of your large Asian riverine turtles are called terrapins. And then here in the United States, like I gotta show her again, this turtle here, the diamondback terrapin, whose species lives entirely in brackish and saline water environments. So those are your main differences when we talk about turtle, tortoise, and terrapin. Now, if we had more time, I could get to that more in depth. Or if you actually do want to hear the full explanation, check out Turtles 101 on our Turtle Survival Alliance YouTube channel. So that's at Turtle Survival on YouTube. And go down to Turtles 101, and I explain all about the differences between turtles, tortoises, terrapins, and sea turtles. All right, another question. What is in the shell with the baby in the bottom center picture? Really good question. So you see that pinkish, basically blob there that is on there. So that hatchling you see is the Rhode Island snake-necked turtle. That is Chelodina mccordi. And it is still soaking up its yolk sac. So every type of turtle on Earth hatches from an egg. Within that egg, they get their nutrients from yolk. And oftentimes, they have not yet fully absorbed that yolk by the time that they hatch. So oftentimes, like in this picture, they will sit inside the egg until they have fully absorbed all of that yolk. And that yolk is so important for not only the turtle continuing growth after they hatch, but also giving them energy to move into that next life stage. So that was a really excellent question. Oh, and I see Boris is here. Boris has been a wonderful participant of our webinars at our Turtle Survival YouTube channel. So it's really good to see Boris on here. All right, so now I want to get to what you can do. So you love turtles. You want to get involved. Okay, so first off, I would recommend going to our website, which is www.turtlesurvival.org. So that is TurtleSurvival.org. And you're going to want to type into the search 10 ways you can help turtles, because this gives you a perfect list of simple ways that you can help turtles, whether it's in your community, in your region, or even globally or nationally. So Boris pressed the raising hand by accident. Love it, Boris. I love it. Next thing you can do, volunteer with a TSA program. You know, we have programs all around the world, and we would love to find an ability for you to be able to volunteer. If you live in North America, or after this whole pandemic is over, if you have the ability to travel to North America, we would love to get you involved in our North American Freshwater Turtle Research Group. You can become an individual TSA member, because that not only has benefits, but it also directly helps us with our programs across the world. And of course, you can support a TSA program. Just remember, turtle conservation is a community, and it takes a community coming together to save these incredible animals. And one of the greatest ways that a person, a group, or a community can do that is by financially supporting these programs, because without it, we may lose turtles to extinction. All right, next, you're crazy about turtles. You're obsessed about turtles. How can you learn more? How can you get involved? Well, check us out at our website, as you can see, turtlesurvival.org. Also, if you want the most up-to-date information on what we're doing around the world, and to learn little tidbits about different turtle species and turtle programs, check us out at Turtle Survival on our Facebook, our Instagram, and our Twitter. So again, at Turtle Survival, because I know a lot of you out there are spending probably a lot more time than you usually do on your social media due to social distancing and self-quarantining. So one more thing to get involved that we're doing right now at TSA is a coloring page contest. And this is just a fun way for you all to get involved. So what you can do is go to turtlesurvival.org, again, our website, scroll down to the slide scroller, and you're going to click on the picture you see there. That is the TSA coloring page art contest. My good friend Matt Patterson from Stone Ridge Art Studios up in New Hampshire and I both created coloring pages, 6 in total, for you to be able to color at your own leisure. So whether that be paint, markers, crayons, you name it, or you can enter this contest that goes through next Friday, April 24th. And we would love to see your submissions. And by the way, yes, there are prizes. It wouldn't be a contest without prizes. So please go check that out, get involved, you know, color away, and we'd love to see your creativity. All right, so lastly, I do want to leave you on this wonderful quote that many of us take near and dear to our heart, or should I say hold near and dear. And this comes from John Baylor. And John Baylor has a center out in California named after him, the Baylor Kilonian Center. He was an amazing turtle and crocodile biologist. Unfortunately, he passed away in the mid-2000s, but he left a great legacy. And one of the legacies he left is this quote. And it's, despite problems conserving turtles, there are success stories. These have been long, arduous affairs, and for the most part, they have been the work of extraordinarily dedicated individuals. The turtle wars will be fought and won by individual turtle men and turtle women who are on divine missions from the Kilonian gods to save their species. And I think that is beautiful, because I speak for everyone who has dedicated their lives to protecting turtles, that this is a war, and it's a war that we're willing to fight, and it is battle by battle, and we do it because we love it and we love turtles. So I encourage you all to join us in this fight for the preservation of turtles. If you want to get more involved, please reach out to me at jgray, G-R-A-Y, at turtlesurvival.org. Maybe Debbie can actually write that into the comments there, or Brittany can, jgray at turtlesurvival.org, just so you all have it. And I would love to be able to chat with you. I'd love to be able to guide you in the best direction. And I hope that I can inspire you. So with that being said, thank you all very much. Nothing like a dog riding on the back of a tortoise. And I will take any last questions at this time if you have them. And if not, I hope you all enjoy the next presenter. It should be fantastic. And thank you very much to Elgin High School and Debbie McMullen for once again inviting me to be a part of this incredible webinar series.
We're just looking to see if there's any more questions coming from YouTube. I think Brittany's checking that out.
Okay.
But thank you so much. You're one of our favorite presenters. Everybody always tells us how much they enjoy your humor and, of course, all of the great information. And we hope
Sure, my pleasure.
Is gonna, check out TSA and find a way to volunteer or to support in some other way. So,
okay.
You think, Brittany, any other questions or?
Let's see, from Donna, these animals really are spectacular. Thank you for all your work and teaching. Please stay safe and well. Donna, thank you very much. All across the world, we are taking every precaution to make sure that our turtle researchers and conservationists are staying healthy during this time, because we care not only, of course, about the turtles, but we care about the people within our organization. And then when it comes down to it, the only way we can save these turtles is if the people who are passionate and work on their behalf are healthy. So thank you very much for your well wishes. All right, and Boris says, bye, gotta go, take care and see you tomorrow. Wait, not tomorrow, but next week. Yes, we will have another webinar on our TSA YouTube channel next week. That will be Turtles 401. So thanks, Boris.
For everybody,
all right, I think that's it.
For everybody watching, we'll get that information from Jordan and we'll add it to our page, so you have that information as well, so you can watch this next session if you'd like.
Yep. All right, well, thanks again. It's a pleasure as always, and I can't wait to teach you all more about turtles. So
thank you.
See you next time. All right, thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.